Okay, geographers, data people, let's get moving with one of our first videos for this class. And I'm going to introduce you to the kind of setup of Canvas here and where data will be stored, and very similar to other classes, but just going to quickly go through that. We'll download some stuff, and then we'll play a little bit in ArcGIS Pro and start looking at how data are stored, the geodatabase, some of these things. Kind of basic little introduction. So let's get moving. All data that I supply to you will be stored in Canvas. So if you go to our home page, look over to the left. Yours may look different from mine because I have the instructor view here. But what you're going to look for is files. You'll left click on that. In the actual files section, there will be a data folder. And depending on, again, at which point in the semester you're watching this compared to when I've been adding things and all of that, this might look different. There'll probably be more stuff in here when you look at it, but who knows? This stuff changes. But the idea with this one, let me open this up. There's a zip file. Let me do this. There we go. A zip file called Geodatabase 220. And so zip files, this is something we talk about in our intro to geography or to GIS class. Maybe I'll link to the video on zip stuff just for anybody who doesn't remember or is coming back after a while or whatever. But the idea is this is a bunch of different files in this folder that have been compressed to make it a little easier. It's still a big file right here, but it's a way for us to contain a lot of stuff, make it easily downloadable, and all of that. So to access this, to download it, hover over the thing, it highlights it, find these three dots to the right, left click once there, hit download. Again, your options might be different. Now, I've already gone in and downloaded it just because it's a little bit bigger file, takes a little while. So, I'm not going to download it again. That's why it's already there. But that's the way you do it. And just make sure you save it in a place that makes sense where you can easily go find it. Just saving it to my downloads folder. So I'm going to hit cancel, but you should hit save and let that download, and feel free to wait. Pause the video, let it download, and then press play again so you can follow along if need be. So download that. Let me bring this over. Here's my downloads folder. And so it's in here. It's got the little zipper icon on the file folder. It says .zip. And it's a case where if you don't see that .zip at the end, go ahead right now, click on View here, and then Show, and make sure File Name Extensions is checked. That's important if you're doing GIS work. We'll see in a little bit why that is important. So mine's already checked. That's why I see that .zip. And the extension is the 3 or 4 letter, it's like a code that tells the computer how to handle this file, what to open it with, or whatever, what kind of file we're dealing with, right? A zip file, a Word document, whatever it might be. So we want to see that so we know exactly what we're working with. Once I have this here, I can right click. I can do a few different things. Extract all will work. With this, I'm going to get rid of creating that folder. I just want to open it up as is right in the downloads folder. And that's because, if I'm remembering correctly, there should already be a folder that everything's contained in anyway. So that's a way to avoid redundancy. Don't worry about it. But yeah, so we'll just leave that as is, hit extract, let it work its magic. All right, and I lied. Maybe I should have left that folder because it's all just raw and open. Oh well, it'll be fine. So what we have here, let me expand this, is a whole lot of stuff that we'll be getting into. I'll cover and explain what all this is in a moment. But for now, let's leave all of these files here. Shrink that down again. And I'm going to shrink this down. And I want you to go ahead and open up, if you don't already have it open, ArcGIS Pro. Log in, get to this main page here, and click on New Project and Map. And there we go. Instead of the default My Project 1, which is meaningless, I'm going to call it Geodatabase 220. All right, there. I'm not going to have any spaces in the name. We want to not get into the habit of having spaces or creative file names or special little characters or whatever. We want this stuff simple and to the point. And it's mainly because you put in a space in weird spots. Sometimes it's gotten better, but sometimes it can still screw up, tools you're running in ArcGIS, little things like that. So we either want to have no spaces or use an underscore or something along those lines. But I'm going to leave that as it is there. This location, perfect. This is exactly where I want all my stuff to be saved in my documents folder. There's an ArcGIS subfolder in there and a project subfolder in that subfolder. That's where these things are going to be contained. And then this create a folder. Yeah, leave that checked. And I'm going to hit OK. And so that will generate, this kind of just right now a generic, pretty empty map project. But this is the space in which we'll be working. Make sure that all loads up. Beautiful. Okay, from here, let's go. I've got too little of a screen. Here we go. Perfect. This will work. Now from here, we're going to move our data we unzipped and put it into this project folder that was just created. And the reason why we're going to do that is to contain everything in one nice, neat little spot. Okay, so that we have everything in the same location. We don't have to go searching for things, try to remember some weird spot where we save something, at the moment where we're sure, oh yeah, I'll totally remember where it is. And then no, you don't. So we want to keep this all in the same spot. Okay, that's another big key thing when doing GIS and working with a lot of data and all that. So in your documents folder, which I have separate here. In fact, can I separate that? There we go. So I just left clicked and dragged. In here, you'll have, whatever you have in your documents folder. But the main thing is this ArcGIS folder. And don't worry about extra ones or whatever. It's just straight ArcGIS. Double click in there. And then within here, we have that projects subfolder. I'm going to go in there. And this is any of these projects you've created. So if you've, taken the intro class, you did all the projects in there, those will be in here. Anything just extra or fun you did, it's in here. If not, if you don't have this other stuff, don't worry about it. Clearly, it's not a big deal. All we need is this Geodatabase 220. So double click on that. And within here, this .aprx file that you can see over here, type ArcGIS project file. That's this whole map project thing that we created. Okay, that's what it's getting at right here. This geodatabase, so .gdb, is this empty one that's just automatically created within our map project. Okay, so whenever you make this map project, it just automatically creates with the same name as the project itself, a geodatabase in which you can save, new data, create new data, edit stuff, whatever. Okay, so those are the two key things. But what we want to do is, if I come back to my downloads folder, I want to take everything with the exception of this zip file. All right. In fact, I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete that just because I don't need it. All right. I got everything extracted. This is what I actually want in here. So I'm going to left click at the top, or actually I could left click wherever, and I'm going to hit Control A on my keyboard. So at the same time, the Control button, the A button to select everything in here. Now this only works, right? This Control A if I've got an empty folder, right? If you have tons of stuff just loaded up in your downloads folder, it's going to grab everything, and we don't want that. So if this is all you have, Control A, we grab it all. If not, you can start at the top of all of your items right here, and then hit Shift, hold Shift, and then left click at the very bottom. Is that? Yeah, that's the very bottom. Left click right there. Okay, and then it selects all of that. Regardless, however you do it, whatever works, grab everything. And I'm just going to left click and drag this over here to move it into my projects folder. Okay, so it got everything there. I could also right click and hit cut or copy and paste it here. Doesn't really matter. A few different ways we can do stuff, but the main idea is I want all of these different files brought into this project folder. Okay? And the reason for that is if I come back to my main map here, my ArcGIS stuff, in the catalog pane, which is this thing on the right, I'm going to be able to easily see and access this stuff. And if you don't have, like I have already, the catalog pane opened up right here, we simply go to, is it in map? No, it's view. Yeah, view. Here, let me open that up all the way, maximize and that's the thing. If you notice, if I have it smaller, it gets rid of some of the names of the things. It just has the icon. And if you don't have these icons memorized, what little picture goes to what function, it can be a pain. I'm recording this on a small laptop screen right now, so everything is kind of compressed anyway. So if I maximize that, it opens this up and I can see, okay, that's what I'm looking for. In catalog pane, if you just left click that, it will open up this that we're looking at, right? On the right where it says catalog. So within here, okay, if you open up folders, left click there, it's got that main project folder. It's got the little house there. That's our little home base where everything is kind of connected to. If I open that up, I see that Geodatabase 220 GDB. If I open that up, there's nothing. It's empty. I see some other stuff here. This ATBX, it's the toolbox thing for custom tool stuff. Nothing we're doing right now. Import log doesn't matter to us right now. But I have these other data files that I brought over. Okay. And if you look over here, you see it's a lot simpler. It's a lot easier to read. We just have 4 different data files. This calif.shp, cities.shp, dm90 underscore hf.tiff, and then major underscore roads.shp. Okay, now if I go back, let me do this now. Go over here. You can see I have these same names, but a bunch of different types of files. So like this cities one. Let's look at that. If I start here and it comes down here. So what is that? 8, different files with the same name. Okay. We have the one that says .shp, but then a bunch of others. .shx, sbx, sbn, prj, all these different things. What these are what we call a shapefile. So in GIS, it's treated as one file. And that's what it's showing me in the catalog. It's saying, hey, it's just cities, right? It's combined all of these things into this one deal that we're looking at. And so if we look at it through catalog, we see this little green square over to the left and 3 dots in it, that means it's a point feature class or point shapefile, meaning that if I bring these cities in, it's going to be a bunch of points where different cities are, right? This Calif one, it's short for California. It's got that other icon. That means it's a polygon. So it's the actual shape of California, a closed polygon that's in the exact shape. Major roads, the roads, this icon here indicates it's linear. It's a line shape file, right? So the roads are represented as lines on the map. Right? This other one, this TIFF file, this is a raster image. We'll deal with that in a little bit. But we got a few things in here. Now, shape files, as I'm pointing out here, are made up of anyway, it can be 3 files, it can be 8 files. All these different files do something specific. Some of the key ones, like this PRJ, that's a projection file that tells it where to actually put these cities, right? So we know that there are these points and they look a certain way from some of these other files, but the PRJ one is going to say these are California cities. It's going to actually put them over California, right, where they're supposed to be. This DBF, that's our attribute table that will have the names of the cities and any other attributes that are connected. All right, so it's really key, like as I copied and moved this stuff over to this location, it's really key that I have every single file brought along. Because if I lose one of these files, if I don't grab every single one and I leave one in the original spot or I accidentally delete it or whatever, it's a case where the whole file is shot, right? In many cases. There's some ways, like the projection file, you can deal with it, but it's a big pain. But honestly, just make a point of keeping everything together. Okay, that's huge for working with shape files. And I'll say shape files are great. They're useful things. They're handy to have. They're kind of this archaic, outdated way of dealing with GIS data. We're going to get into geodatabases and feature classes within the geodatabase and all of that stuff. But honestly, ain't nothing wrong with a shape file. And I have a good, quick, easy way, small little file to bring data in. Okay. And if I do, in fact, let's go ahead. Let's just bring in this Calif shape. Just left click, drag it in so we can see what we're dealing with. And right now, what I'm also going to do, and this is something, if you had other classes with me, you've heard me rail about this stuff already, I'm sure. I'm going to right click and remove this world topographic map and this world hill shade. All right, we're going to get rid of this because, well, why? Because we are ArcGIS pros, right? That's the notion. We don't need this preloaded data. It's a cruddy resolution anyway. They force all this intense copyright stuff on your final layout. It's garbage. We're gonna get rid of it. We're not gonna worry about that stuff. But you can see, bringing that over, clearly the state of California, right? The cities, if I left click and drag, we've got those points, right? Representing this stuff. And if I click on any of these, when I have the little finger, cursor thing, it'll connect to that attribute table, right? So that's the little city, little town of Lone Pine, a beautiful 395, and it's got the name connected to it. We've got latitude and longitude coordinates. We've got a few different things, what county it's in, and all of that. So that's connecting to that DBF file, right? That's the attribute table. That's the relevant data that are connected to the shapes themselves, to the points in this case. And let's just finally, since we're doing it, let's click and drag that major roads one in there. And same kind of deal. If I click over here, there's US Highway 395, right? And I know it's a US highway, a federal highway, as opposed to a state highway or an interstate or whatever, because that's in the attribute table itself, right? So shapefiles, useful, got a lot of good stuff here. But what we're going to do, and I think what I'll do is I'll stop this video and we'll do another one, a part two. Cliffhanger. It's exciting. To tune in next time to see what happens. But we'll get into bringing these into a geodatabase. Okay, we'll actually bring it into this existing one, but talk about making a new one as well. We'll get into some of the key stuff in dealing with that to understand the difference between shapefiles, geodatabases, all of this kind of stuff. And we'll look at this raster too. We'll do. Oh, it's gonna be good. If you thought this video was good, wait till you see the next one. All right. Okay, hold tight. I'll get that other video up and running. See you in a bit.